that belongs to the public. But the primary belongs to the individual political parties, and nothing in state law can stop us. Now do you get where the power's at? We can't control Washington unless you have $1 billion. But if we understand unity, form the unity, draw your strategies based on what you know you don't control, understand what you do control, and have internal discipline in a singular plan, the basic 5 steps, you can affect the mountain. Now, 2 things break that unity, in my opinion, over my 20 years of experience. Your love for your issues and your passions, because we'll divide on any of those, and hero worship. Whether it's Ron Paul, Alan Keyes, Pat Buchanan, 2 years Howard Phillips, in my day, my first go around, it was Pat Robertson. If you're worshiping a hero, then all the enemy has to do is vilify the hero, catch him in his fogies, and tear him down. And your movement falls apart, because everything is dependent on the hero. So issues in hero worship kill you. So what is the basis of our unity? First of all, I call it the moral law. I personally believe in the Christian ethos. I think it should be tried, and historically it is very powerful. Whether you're an atheist, it's extremely powerful, which is motivate people through love, service, and sacrifice, not hate, fear, animosity. How many of you receive brochures from any group? The sky is falling, send me money.
RPT every day?
Everybody sends it every day. Every Christian group, every gun group, every political, both sides. That's the dark side of the force. Because you're motivating the troops through anxiety, hate, and fear. It doesn't work for good guys. It's beautiful for bad guys. It works wonderfully if you want to get there and be the king and be the all-powerful Lord passing out edicts down below. In other words, if you want to be Adolf Hitler, that's the way to do it. Okay? Is you play on people's fears. You vilify your opponent. They're after your children. How many of you heard that? It's related to one thing or another. Okay? So what is our goal? Restore the republic. Restore the forms of a republic. Stop telling each other to shut up in our deliberative assemblies. Stop cheating in our deliberative assemblies. Seniority system is a form of cheating. It takes, let's say everybody in here is a state rep. But this guy's been here 30 years. And he said, because I'm here 30 years, I'm not going to let these guys ever make a motion. Well, wait a second. He represents one district. He represents one district. They have absolutely equal constitutional authority to be representatives. Then why is it some of them are super representatives and control everything? Committee chairman. That's a corruption of our republic. It's how it all became backroom deals. And so that has to be a goal. And guess what? When I talk to the Green Party people, the Libertarians, the Democrats, they all go, yeah, that's kind of true, but things have to get done. It'll take a little longer if we have to actually deliberate. Now what is it when a group of people come together to make decisions and no one's cheating? It's the wisdom of many counselors. It's a room where you can ferret out your wisdom. No one would have the absolute right to win. Everyone would have an absolute right to try. And an honest vote. You have to have a faith that most of the time you'll get wisdom. Not all the time. Demagogues can take control of crowd. Okay, sometimes you lose. But if you're educated like what you just saw, hopefully you'll learn how to stand up and speak. And oppose bad ideas. That's the old Edmund Burke, famous English parliamentarian. Evil triumphs because good men do nothing. When Jeremy and I were shouting after they turned off our mics at the state convention, we were shouting, and we intentionally did not want to be joined by everybody else because we weren't sure they had the maturity to keep it from being violent. So we had gave them marching orders, everybody stay in your chair, do the best you can to follow what's going on. But they were cheating pretty bad. And they called the police on us. And it got pretty ugly. Okay? But we were just 1, 2, maybe 3 people were. I think Brian Plumber, you were going to the mic too. You actually made it to the mic a couple times before they turned it off. We only had a few voices because the rest weren't trained. But if that had been, what, we were 30 to 40% of that convention, if that had been 2,000 people demanding that the motion to appeal be debated, I think we might have saved the Nueces County Convention, because the facts were just atrocious. Anybody with any kind of reasonableness or honesty in them would have realized something horrible had happened down in Nueces County. And that's what we were trying to defend. We were trying to defend those who could not defend themselves. So being motivated by love instead of being motivated by hate. Finding the maturity to unify, which means set aside your issue for a bigger goal. Restoring the American Republic. That gives you a strategic overview of what has to be done. And actually it shows up in the Bible, it shows up in Sun Tzu, it shows up in the Declaration of Independence, that same pattern. Another important concept, again, I draw some things from my background religiously, but if you'll turn to page 15, you probably don't even need to see this one, 2 Chronicles 7:14. And this goes directly to what tactics are all about. If my people, called by my name, should humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then, which is establishing an if-then conditional test, I will heal from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. What's interesting about that quote, which is repeated all through the scriptures, is everything's internal. Who is the enemy? It's us. Bad guys are doing their job. They're bad guys. That's what they do. Problem is, we don't hold our own accountable. Accountability is a central theme of restoring this nation. But if they're your friend, you kind of stay quiet about it. You know, are you just lightly saying, you know, what, did you really? Oh yeah, we had to stop that guy. It's us that's the enemy. If we can't get discipline and self-control and maturity and accountability over our own people, the people who call themselves conservative, people who call themselves Christian, the people who call themselves libertarian, people who call themselves whatever, constitutionalist. You know, again, there's not, you can be a constitutionalist from any stripe, because all you're saying is my liberty counts. But if you see that same person at the Rotary Club violating someone else's right and you don't stop them because of social niceties, then liberty dies. Because you can't control the bad guy. He doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care about your criticism. And one good guy criticizing the big shot good guys clearly is not enough. So we got a few extras. We got Deborah to criticize. We got Jeremy to criticize. We got a few more. You know, that was pretty nice, because it felt a lot less lonely over this last year than it did the last 10 or 12. And so they got a little more criticism, but yet they squished us like bugs. Broke more rules than ever before. That's our own. We're a caucus. So now we have to shrink our caucus. Where America is a big one, that's the goal. That's the big one. So you always have to think our unity has to extend eventually to include a political majority. Well, if you're so single-focused on a man or focused on an issue, you'll never achieve that majority unless it's just one of those really good projects like a single project, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You know, Phyllis Schlafly and the Equal Rights, I think it was the Equal Rights Amendment or whatever they called that back then, the Women's Right thing, the Constitutional Amendment. Single issues can be achieved all the way to Washington, but then the movement dies and something else bad happens. So we're talking about a broader look at a strategy that restores the American public. The eternal vigilance the last speaker spoke about. How do we do that? How do you become effective? Well, what I'm saying is, if you learn the rules well enough, it's harder. Okay, let's get back to that part. Being a good guy is much harder than being a bad guy. You have to